Gurupyasta Namo Vakamadhimahe Vrinimahe Chatatradyao Dampati Jagatam Pati.
Shri Shri Krishna Vagishayatishvarabhyam Samprapta Chakrankana Bhashya Saram Shri Nut Narangendra Yatau Samarpita Svam Shri Krishna Maryam Guru Varyamide Virodhe Kartike Mase Shatatara Kritodayam Yogacharyam Krishna Maryam Guru Varyamaham Bhaje.
Shishakam Krishna Maryasya Natavam Shapradipakam Kalyana Gunarupantam Shri Deshikam Namamyaham Prashanta Purushakaram Viniyoga Pracharakam Visheshavaitikam Surim Tandeshikam Smaram Yaham Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So I hope I meant to remind you all that you're welcome to chant, with your muted situation. What I'd like to do is call on volunteers to chant part of this invocation next week, so that every week we get different people chanting the verses. So if you noticed and if you were able to read along, we each took a verse. So there were 4 lines apiece until the dedication to Krishna Macharya and the dedication to Desikachar. One person took the entire dedication to each one. So are there any volunteers for next week to lead us? You are welcome. And if there's only one volunteer, you get to do the whole thing. So, okay, good. And okay, so we get Lauren, good, and Patty, and Susie, are you volunteering? Oh, not yet. Okay. You can all Lisa, good. You can all unmute yourselves right now so we can chat. So
I'm happy to practice as long as Patty can put the YouTube up there so I can practice from this.
So today I actually I didn't remember to record until halfway through, but there are definitely plenty of them up there. I will let you know which ones have the full invocation. And
thank you, Patty.
I just have to say the 2 dedications are significantly more difficult than the other beginning part. So,
and they're longer. So how many
words are so hard.
Do we have now? We have Patty and we have Lauren and Sandra, not yet?
No way. No way.
Okay. I want to remind you all, there's no ugly, there's no not getting it right. There's only chanting. And if we're listening, we're listening. And if we're repeating, we're repeating. And then there's nothing but refining, refining, refining. There's nothing, there's only beautiful, and we get to hear each other's vibrations. That's all. What Bob Gilbo mentioned something to me last week. We're co-teaching a thing on the Bhagavad Gita. And he said, well, when it's Leslie's turn to chant, let's have everybody listen so they can bathe in the sounds. So this is your opportunity as you chant for us to bathe in your sounds, in the vibrations you create. So all you have to do when you chant,
pressure.
you'll bathe and just dream up scents of lavender and rose petals and almond oil, and you'll be fine. So, okay, so we have 2 volunteers for next week, and that's Patty and Lauren. So who would
Wasn't
like?
Lisa also? Lisa too?
And then Lisa,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
got 3. So I think it's probably easiest just to go. So who would like to do the very first 4 verses? The first section.
4 lines or 4 verses?
Sorry, lines.
Okay.
From Shuklam all the way to Sarva Vigno Pashantaye, that whole verse, that's one verse. So one person do that verse.
I don't really care if someone, if Patty
No.
or myself, anyone wants to just divide
Yes.
it up,
Okay,
let me know what I
Never
have.
mind.
so Lauren, would you like to start us off then? Do the first 4 lines for next week? Okay, you do the first verse. Then Lisa, would you like to do the second verse? Yes,
Sure.
Viradavastradhyaha. All those 4 lines. And then
Yep.
Patty, take the third verse.
I'll do the 3rd and the 4th if you want, because we actually did those. Do you remember? We did those a while ago, like over the summer.
Yeah?
You remember that?
No, of course I don't.
And we saw that, we had like the statue of Hayagriva. We saw the,
Oh, yeah.
and we actually did, so I actually feel like I know those last 2 verses
Okay, then,
sufficiently.
so
Until you tell me I'm wrong, but.
okay. So Patty, would you like to do those 2 verses, starting with Jnana Nanda, and then the next verse as well, Pundarikasanasinam?
Yes.
Well, you're responsible for those 2 verses. Okay. Okay, so to recapitulate, just for my brain, so we've got Lauren on the first verse, we have Lisa on the second verse, Patty on the next 2 verses, and then we'll go back to Lauren. Would you please take care of the Guru Vandanam?
Yep.
You'll be honoring all the gurus, Guru Bhastad. And then Lisa, you get to do dedication to Krishna Macharya. No?
No. Just one will be plenty for me.
Okay. Okay, Lisa's gonna do the Yas Yad Viradava. Okay. Patty, okay, so Lauren, would you like to continue with the Krishna Macharya? Because it might be easier.
Sure.
Okay, you'll do that. So Lauren, you'll be doing all together the very first verse, then the Guru Vandanam, Guru Bhastad, and then you will go into the dedication to Krishna Macharya. And then Patty will finish us off with the dedication to TKV Desikachar. Okay?
I shall do my best.
Okay. And now instead of springing it on you at the last minute, you get a whole week to practice if you want. Or you can just wing it next week. The only person who gets graded on this is me. So
Well, we're all still coming back, so you're doing a fine job.
So to the handout that I sent this today, karagre, let's take a look at that. I thought we would start with something new and fresh. It is along the lines of honoring Lord Krishna as well as Lakshmi and Sarasvati. And it's sweet and it's short. And I also choreographed a little, why do I keep forgetting that word that has to do with gestures?
Mudra.
Mudra, thank you. Yeah, I choreographed a mudra dance to that, so we'll do that. But first, we'll just learn this beautiful chant. if any of you owns a copy of Shubraji's shloka, the shloka mala, this is where I learned it. Shows shloka mala, if you have that, it's on there. So I'll chant it once.
Which document are we on?
Beg your pardon?
Which document is it? The karagre?
Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karagre. Karagre. So kara is a word for hand. Kara. Literally, that part of the body which does things and makes things. Kara, kre, to do, to make. Agre means the pinnacle or the top point, like the agre. Vasate means lives or dwells. But now I'll stop with the translation. We can pick it up. I'll just chant it. Okay, so it goes like this. Karagre vasate Lakshmi, karamule sarasvati, karamadhye tu govindaha, prabhate karadarshanam. On the fingertips of my hand lives Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity and good health. Karamule Sarasvati, at the root of the hand, where the root of the palm is, that's where Sarasvati lives. Karamadhye, madhye means the middle, in the middle of the palm, where lives Govinda, the cow finder, Krishna. Every morning, prabhatam means the morning, prabhate, in the morning. Prabhate karadarshanam. Literally, I regard my hands with reverence. But I'm also thinking and gratitude for all that my hands do. So mute yourselves and chant along with me. I'll just repeat it a few times. And then you please let me know if there's anything we should slow down or do a call and response. But I think you might find it okay. I'll start with Om. Om. Karagre vasate Lakshmi, karamule sarasvati, karamadhye tu govindaha, prabhate karadarshanam. I will do it. I'll just repeat each line again. Om karagre vasate Lakshmi, karagre vasate Lakshmi, karamule sarasvati, karamule sarasvati, karamadhye tu govindaha, karamadhye tu govindaha, prabhate karadarshanam, prabhate karadarshanam. Let's chant that together, just as the verse is. First, are there any questions or is there any request to go over any part of it or all of it? Or are you all right to just chant with me? Om. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karamule Saraswati. Karamadhye tu Govindaha. Prabhate Karadarshanam. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karamule Saraswati. Karamadhye tu Govindaha. Prabhate Karadarshanam. Are you feeling somewhat comfortable with this or extremely comfortable? Now let's do the mudra. So does everyone have two hands available? Okay, so we start like this. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karamule Saraswati. That's a little tricky, so I'll do that one again. Karamule Saraswati. Did you all get that? You sort of just go around and try to keep connecting. You keep the hands touching at the root, at the mula of the palm. Karamadhye tu Govindaha. Prabhate Karadarshanam. And at this point, Karadarshanam, we look at our own hands with reverence and gratitude. So that last one again is Prabhate Karadarshanam. So again, here we go. We'll do this a couple of times. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karamule Saraswati. Karamadhye tu Govindaha. Prabhate Karadarshanam. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karamule Saraswati. Karamadhye tu Govindaha. Prabhate Karadarshanam. One more time. Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Karamule Saraswati. Karamadhye tu Govindaha. Prabhate Karadarshanam. Then we could repeat the last line. Prabhate Karadarshanam. How was that for everyone? Do you think you have it enough to be able to play with it over the week?
That was just beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I imitated the melody exactly at least as I remember it, from Shubraji's. In a workshop once, there was a young gentleman from India, and he said, oh, it was so nice for him because his mother used to chant that to him, sing that to him when he was a little boy. So apparently it's a popular lullaby.
But did you choreograph the hand movements? Those were, or is that traditionally done that way?
No, I made that up. I choreographed. Yeah, I just thought, why not? I don't know why. It just seemed to make sense. And I'm wondering if perhaps when we have something to do with our hands, if that helps the memorization of the words, because now we have something to associate with the sound, you know, karagre on the tips, vasate Lakshmi. Anyway.
I teach a lot of Ashtanga, and I was having a lot of trouble. I would try to keep track of the sequences, like with my hand number, you know, doing this with my fingers. My husband's a drummer, and he suggested each number having a different hand signal. So this was 1, and then 2 was this. And so because the mind would remember a specific place of putting the hand as opposed to just going like that where they were all the same. So it reminds me of what you just did.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful.
Leslie, can I just ask I guess it's a spelling question.
Sure.
Just about Lakshmi, Vishnu, sometimes we see it with the H and sometimes not. Is that?
Yeah, and I'm going to check with Bob Gilbo about that. It's if there is a my intention. Did you see a dot under the S?
Yeah, there's a dot under the Lakshmi. And what about the Vishnu? I also noticed it in Vishnu. Yeah, there's a dot under the S.
Vishnu. Yeah, so the dot under the S automatically tells us that it's an SH sound. It's really a sound in the 3rd mouth position, which means that the tip of the tongue is going to aim towards the hard palate, somewhere in the middle of your cranium. Sha, sha, sha. And the same whenever you see the S with a horizontal dash over it. That's another SH sound, but that's further back in Isha, sha, as if we were going to say Isha or Ishvara. It's an SH sound, but it's a vibration that occurs in a different place from Vishnu, which is further forward in position 3. So, but you know, for all intents and purposes, just remember, if there's a mark either over or under the letter S, it is an SH sound.
So then when it's written like this with the mark above or beyond, it doesn't need the H in there. Whereas when it's written in English, we put the H maybe so we know that it's Shmi.
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
if we don't have access to the diacritical marks, we have to put the H in there.
Yeah. Makes sense. Thank you.
And so I've seen it where both are done, and sometimes I do it that way too. But then I think I got a note from Bob saying, no, you have to. He's my go-to for absolute correction. Are you ready to move on? Let's move on to, there was a handout, but we don't need the handout really today because it's also in our book. So if everybody has your booklet, please turn it to page 75, Bramhanandam. There is a reason behind my madness. I deliberately chose this chant and the one we just did because they, for me anyway, they are comforting chants. And I thought we could ease into the new year. You know, fireworks are great, but sometimes we get too much. I thought it would be a gentle way of coming back. And Bramhanandam is a beautiful verse that's sung often. And I just wanted to say something about the meter. And I can, you know, I'm working on a handout to give you explaining meters because I think I mentioned before, one could spend a lifetime on studying just Sanskrit metrics. there are many, many different kinds of meters depending, and it all depends on how many syllables make up a line. And in this particular one, so we had an experience with the Bhagavad Gita. We experienced verses with 8 syllables per line, which is known as either shloka, and a verse is also a shloka. And also a verse with 8 syllables per line is also sometimes called the anushtup. Then also we learned about these 11 syllables per line, which is trishtup. Simply means there are 11 syllables per line. This one is a class of meters known as manda kranta. And I'll write it down and put it in a handout for you next week, perhaps. And this has, I think it's 17 syllables per line. Bramhanandam paramasukhadam kevalam jnanamurtim dvandvatitam gagana sadrisham, tatvamasyadi lakshyam. Yeah, there's 17. And it's also interesting in that every line has the same rhythmic pattern. Slow, 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 quick, 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 slow, slow, quick, slow, slow, quick, slow, slow. So actually hum it with me or go dee-da with me or something like that. Let's just see if we can get that going. Da ra ra ra, da ra 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 ra, da ra 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 ra, da ra ra ra, da ra 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 ra, da ra 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 ra. So that's the feeling. It evokes a particular feeling, and the melody will accommodate the meter. So I'll just chant this, and you're welcome to join in immediately or just listen as you see fit. The third line will have a slightly different melodic line to it, but it's still with the same rhythm. Just warning you ahead of time. Om Bramhanandam paramasukhadam kevalam jnanamurtim dvandvatitam gagana sadrisham tatvamasyadi lakshyam ekam nityam vimalamachalam sarvadhi sakshi bhutam bhavatitam trigunarahitam sadgurum tan namami. And in some traditions, they'll repeat the last second half of the last line, and they might emphasize it by going something like this. Sadgurum tan namami. It's like putting it in bold. The bliss of Brahma, the bliss of Brahma, supreme, paramount, happiness, sukhadam. Kevalam means the only, the one. Jnanamurtim, murtim, embodiment of supreme knowledge. dvandvatitam, having gone beyond or gone beyond the dualities. So this is beyond dualities. Dvandva, meaning dualities. Gagana is a beautiful word meaning the sky. Sadrisham means like the sky. Gagana sadrisham. Tattvam asi. That's quite a statement. That thou art. It's also referred to in the Bhagavad Gita and stated often, that thou art, meaning the true essence of who we all are. Lakshyam, the sign of that thou art. Ekam, ekam, one. It's like in the first line you had kevalam, but here it's the one. Nityam, eternal, never ending, was never born, therefore can never die. The one eternal. Vimalam. Malam means dirt or dirt. Vimalam means without dirt, pure. Vimalam. Achalam, not moving. Achalam. Chalam, moving. Achalam, non-moving. Sarvadhi, all knowing, all awareness, awareness of all. Sakshi, the witness. Bhutam, the being, the witness. Bhavatitam, having gone beyond all existence. Triguna rahitam, having gone beyond the three gunas of existence. Sadgurum, to that guru, it is that teacher whom I offer my devout salutations. So I think I'll take it line by line. I'll do the first line and repeat it, and the second line and repeat it, and so forth. So let's see what happens. And actually, right off the bat, notice all of the nasal sounds, all of the sounds. So what I'm going to try to do is emphasize those a little bit, because it's that vibration that feels so calming, I think. It's no accident that these chants were created with the particular words and their particular meanings. It is created to invoke a particular feeling or provoke a feeling. And this one has a very calm, sattvic feeling, at least to me, it does. Om bramhanandam paramasukhadam. And I'll repeat that. Bramhanandam paramasukhadam kevalam jnanamurtim kevalam jnanamurtim dvandvatitam dvandvatitam gagana sadrisham tatvamasyadilakshyam tatvamasyadilakshyam ekam nityam ekam nityam vimalamachalam vimalamachalam sarvadhi sakshi bhutam sarvadhi sakshi bhutam bhavatitam bhavatitam trigunarahitam trigunarahitam sadgurum tannamami sadgurum tannamami. Are there any questions or requests before we just chant this through? I'll raise the pitch a little bit. We'll chant through it twice. Om bramhanandam paramasukhadam kevalam jnanamurtim dvandvatitam gagana sadrisham tattvamasyadilakshyam ekam nityam vimalamachalam sarvadhi sakshi bhutam bhavatitam trigunarahitam sadgurum tannamami sadgurum tannamami. Om bramhanandam paramasukhadam kevalam jnanamurtim dvandvatitam gagana sadrisham tattvamasyadilakshyam ekam nityam vimalamachalam sarvadhi sakshi bhutam bhavatitam trigunarahitam sadgurum tannamami sadgurum tannamami. Do you all have the hang of this?
I think, Leslie, for me, the hard part is having all the notes correct.
Yeah, and that's the least important part. I'm trying to be consistent with what I chant so that if you like that, you can do it. Yeah, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. I imitated, her name is Manorama. Some of you may know her, and if you happen to have any of her recordings, it's on a recording that she did called In All Beings, or Sarve Bhuteshu, or Sarva Bhuteshu. If you own that, listen to that. I think her voice is more beautiful than mine, and she has instrumental accompaniment. And it's also the way, I think she got that melody from her years living at the Ananda ashram, because they all chant it that way. But if we all vary a little bit, in our notes, it's, no heaven will fall down. Keeps it creative. But if you can adhere to one melody, it might help. It might be a mnemonic device. Don't you love that word, mnemonic, to help with memorization, to learn it. One thing I've told people at workshops is that when you get to the second line and there's gagana sadrisham, and actually whenever there's those fast notes in between, but for gagana sadrisham, it feels really nice to let your head go like this. Gagana sadrisham, gagana, and then just go gagana, 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 gagana. If I were you, I would just take little bits of it and just savor the feelings of it. Gagana, gagana, sadrisham, sadrisham. It's very sensual, I think, or can be. So you can certainly play with that in your movements, so we still have some time. We will review these over and over and over again, so that hopefully this chant will be like second nature and maybe first nature to you. You'll just be able to just let it roll out of the mouth. Patty reminded me, and I was really wanting to get to this. So, and we have time. If you go to page 91. Thank you everyone for purchasing this book. It makes my job easier. The Nirvana Shatakam. And here you have the dot under the S in the title. Shatakam. 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 Shat is a word for 6. 1, 2. Are there 6 verses in this? There's more. Yeah, there are 6 verses in this. I think that's what that comes from. Shatakam. The 6 verses of the Song of Nirvana. And sometimes it's referred to as the Song of the Soul. And I learned that it was perhaps B.K.S. Iyengar's favorite chant, which is very interesting because he was a Vaishnava, a Vishnu worshiper, Krishna worshiper, but this was his favorite song. If we count out the syllables as I chant, I'll just chant the first verse. Let's see if we can sort of be introduced to the first verse. It has a different melody. And let's count out these the syllables here. Mano buddhyahankara chittaninaham nacha shrotra jihve nacha grana netre nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuhu Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. This meter is called Sragdhara. I don't even know what that means, but anyway, Sragdhara. And I think it's likened to a serpent because it goes fast, slow, slow, fast, slow, slow. Da 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 da. Let me just chant that again. Well, actually, would someone else like to read out loud the translation? Let's hear someone read the translation. Anyone, whoever would like to be heard.
I can read it.
Thank you. Great.
I am neither mind, intellect, ego, nor field of consciousness, and neither hearing nor taste, and neither smell nor sight, and neither space nor earth, not light, not air. My nature is the bliss of pure consciousness. I am Sheila, I am Sheila.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lauren. Now, will someone go to page 94 and read the first verse there? It's the same verse, just a different translation. Sandra, I'd like to hear your voice. Would you mind reading the translation on page 94?
I am neither ego nor reason. I am neither mind nor thought. I cannot be heard nor cast into words, nor by smell nor sight ever caught in light and wind I am not found, nor yet in earth and sky, consciousness and joy incarnate, bliss of the blissful am I.
In this translation, he causes it to rhyme, which is kind of nice. So we have these two translation offerings to give us an idea. Mano, manas, so I am not the mind. Buddhi, the intellect. Ahankara, the eye maker. Chitta, I am not the chitta, nor am I the hearing, nor taste. Jihwe, the tongue, or the taste, grana, or the smelling. Grana is the smelling. Netre, the sight. Netram, a netram is an eye, that which sees. Nacha vyoma, I am neither, vyoman is a word for space, and bhumi is a word for earth. Tejaha, tejas, fire or brilliance. Light here, light. Vayuhu is the air. Chidananda, chit ananda. The chit ananda, the bliss of chit, the consciousness. The form, shivaha aham, shivaha aham. So chant with me. Go ahead and mute yourselves and let's see if we can make sense of this. I'll repeat it. Om Mano Buddhyahankara Chittani Naham. I'll repeat that. Mano Buddhyahankara Chittani Naham. Nacha Shrotra Jihwe Nacha Grana Netre Nacha Shrotra Jihwe Nacha Grana Netre Nacha Vyomad Bhumir Na tejo na vayuhu na cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuhu chidananda rupaha Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. I chose a melody that I learned from Vyas Houston, and it's on his CD, Songs to Shiva. So if you happen to have that, it might be helpful. As we progress in this, I might try different melodies because it's a little tricky. How did you do? We can make it simpler. Let's just see if I can make it a little more monotone and see what happens. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham. Mano buddhi, sorry. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham. Let's just do that first line a couple of times and see if we can come up with some melody that comes out of us. I sure wish I could hear you. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham. Try to follow that. Mano buddhya hankara. Just that much. Mano buddhya hankara. Mano buddhya hankara chittam. Oh, sorry. Chittani naham. Nacha shrotra jihve, nacha grana netre. Nacha shrotra jihve, nacha grana netre. Nacha vyoma bhumir, nacha vyoma bhumir, na tejo na vayuhu, na tejo na vayuhu. Chidananda rupaha Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. I can look up others online and see if there's a melody. I'm wondering, I'm thinking, is this, are you feeling this over your head? Or are you getting it to some degree? Are you enjoying it or are you frustrating it? Or, let's unmute ourselves. Let's talk about this one.
It's nice. I just haven't caught on to the melody yet.
And I don't blame you because I'm probably changing it every time.
I think it's the pronunciation so much as maybe just like, what are we doing with the melody a little bit? Or just, it's subtle.
Yeah, I think what I landed on, I'm going to try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
So I came up with something where we go down like steps in pitch. Mano buddhya hankara chit da ra 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 mano buddhya hankara chit Dani, ani goes on. Chittani naham. So naham ends up the same as mano. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham. Is that something you can follow? Oh, bye, Susie. That sounded pretty, Elizabeth. Mano buddhya hankara chit. Just that much. Mano buddhya hankara chit. One more time. Mano buddhya hankara chit. Then tani naham. Tani naham. Tani naham. And if we put, so here we go. Let's just do this a couple of times. At least we'll have memorized the first line. That's something. Om Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham. Chittani naham. So the second line, if we do that going down the steps, nacha shrotra, nacha shrotra jihve, nacha grana netre. So to break it down, nacha shrotra, nacha shrotra jihve, nacha shrotra jihve, nacha. So from the beginning of that line, nacha shrotra jihve, nacha gra, and then we climb back up again. Grana netre, grana netre, grana netre. So that second line. Nacha shrotra jihve, nacha grana netre. Were you able to follow that? This shatakam, this verse, this whole mantra is tough, even for those of us who have chanted it. I have not, confession to make, I haven't chanted it all that much. I've listened to it a lot. But I haven't actually practiced chanting. It's a mouthful of pronunciation, isn't it? There's a lot of dancing of the tongue.
I think also, Leslie, for me, it's like what you said about the previous chant. The energy of this chant's very different.
Yes, and part of that comes from the fact that it's a different meter.
Yeah.
Da 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 da, 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 da. Whereas the other is more, I don't know, more completely sattvic, whereas this gets a little of rajasicness in it, perhaps, if you will. My words, I don't know if there's a right or wrong. We can't dictate to each other how we feel. We can just hear it, chant it, try to get the right pronunciation, which will involve the rhythm, and then we will notice for ourselves what comes out. Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham. So Brahman from the other one, I think that Brahman is kinder to us. Lord Shiva offers us a challenge. Just for the fun of it, let's do the whole verse, and no matter what we get, we get. Let's just do the whole verse. I'll do it slowly, but I'll try to do that melody where we just take the steps down. Let's see what happens. Om Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jihve nacha grana netre. I have to change it on the third one. I just have to. Nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu. Then we go back to lines 1 and 2. Chidananda rupaha shivoham shivoham. Let's do the last line again. Chidananda rupaha shivoham shivoham. It's as though Lord Shiva wants us to be awake. He wants us to be reassured, but he wants us awake. But that's just me saying it. So whatever interpretation you have, I'd love it if you would share it, because we're doing this together. Are you all? Let's try it one more time, and I'll try to keep that third line to conform with all the others. Let's see, I don't know, maybe there's just some musical reason why I want to change it, but I'll try not to. Om Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham. Thank you, Lauren. Goodbye. Sorry, everyone. Nacha shrotra jihve nacha grana netre nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuhu chidananda rupaha shivoham shivoham. Let's chant our closing Kshama Shlokaha, which should be on the file that is the invocations, which we didn't send today. This is another one. I think I'd like to ask somebody to volunteer would anyone like to volunteer next week to lead us in either of these? And it can be one of you who are doing the opening invocation. No, okay, Elizabeth, will you lead us off, and then you do the first one, I'll do the second one.
You're muted, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Yadaksharapadabrashtam matrahi nantu yad bhavet tat sarvang ksham yathan deva narayana namostute Srimate Narayanaya Namo Namaha.
Kayena vacha manasendriyaiva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayana yeti samarpayami sarvam shri krishnarpanamastu. Unmute yourselves if you like. It's really great to see everyone. Well, I think we need Lord Shiva, don't we? We need everybody. We need all the gods to lead us to right action.
We do.
Does anybody and actually, next week, Patricia, we'll go back to the earth, the Shanti one. I'll try to remember to bring that one up. Shanti.
Leslie, I was confused what you were asking for volunteers for. I thought you were asking for volunteers in that really hard one we just started to learn. But if
no. I mean,
I'll do the Kayena Vacha part next week.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Okay. Would anybody like to do the Yadakshara?
I don't remember the melodies well enough to do it.
I agree with Sandra. That's why I feel like I can only do one, because it's hard enough for me just to remember that one melody.
Yeah, and it's hard to jump